night sky over Fort Worth exploded with color as families gathered on Castleman Street for 4th of July celebrations. Children ran with sparklers, neighbors shared food, and music filled the warm Texas air. Among the crowd stood 39-year-old Tasha Hymond, smiling as she watched fireworks with her fiancé Tommy and his family, completely unaware these would be her final moments of joy. In an instant, the celebration transformed into chaos. What began as a neighborhood block party ended in gunfire, leaving 2 dead and a community fractured. The laughter silenced, the music stopped, and Tasha, a beloved makeup artist, mother, and partner, found herself caught in a storm of bullets that would claim her life. How does a holiday celebration turn deadly in seconds? Who opened fire on a crowd of hundreds, and why was justice delayed for those who lost everything that night? Before we continue with Tasha's story, take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Your support doesn't just help us produce these videos, it ensures victims like Tasha aren't forgotten. Each subscription represents someone who believes every life matters and every story deserves attention. The authorities may have arrested one suspect, but the full truth remains hidden. By subscribing, you join our community demanding complete justice for Tasha and countless others whose stories go untold. Hit that subscribe button now. Tasha can no longer speak for herself, but together we can amplify her voice until everyone hears it. Behind every crime statistic is a human being whose life mattered. Tasha Hymond wasn't just a name in a police report, she was a force of beauty and compassion in Fort Worth. At 39, Tasha had built Slay by Shay, a makeup business that served over 1,000 loyal clients throughout the city. Her artistic talent transformed not just faces, but confidence levels. Clients didn't just leave with perfect makeup, they left feeling seen and valued. Her reputation for exceptional skill and genuine care made her one of Fort Worth's most sought-after makeup artists. She was the sweetest person on this earth, Tommy Howard, her fiancé, told reporters after her death. Their love story began after tragedy. Howard had lost his previous fiancé to cancer 4 years earlier. In Tasha, he found healing. "She actually was my savior," he shared, his voice breaking with emotion. "Everybody loved her. She was cheerful. She was just a good spirit." But Tasha's world extended beyond her business and relationship. As a mother of 2 adult children, she poured love and dedication into her family. Her cousin, Pastor Felton Jenkins, described her as nurturing and supportive, someone whose warmth touched everyone she encountered. The morning after her death, Pastor Jenkins spoke of the shock that rippled through their family. The woman who had brought beauty to countless special occasions, weddings, proms, photo shoots, was suddenly gone, leaving a void no one could fill. "It is with a heavy heart that we announce the passing of our beloved owner Latasha," read the statement from her business after her death. The temporary closure represented just one of many spaces left empty by her absence. Have you ever known someone whose impact reached hundreds of lives? Someone whose absence created a hole in an entire community? Share your thoughts in the comments below about the people who, like Tasha, make our world more beautiful through their presence. July 4, 2024 began like countless Independence Days before it in Fort Worth. Families prepared food, children anticipated fireworks, and neighbors planned gatherings. For Tasha Hymond and Tommy Howard, the day meant celebrating with his parents at their home on Castleman Street in East Fort Worth. As evening fell, what started as a family gathering expanded into something much larger. The residential neighborhood transformed as hundreds of people converged on Castleman Street. Police would later estimate between 200 and 300 people took over multiple blocks, creating an impromptu block party that spilled across intersections and front yards. Tasha, ever social and connected to her community, documented the festivities through her phone. She live-streamed parts of the celebration on Facebook, capturing the energy and excitement. In one video later recovered by investigators, a firework explodes just feet away from a police cruiser, with its lights flashing, an early warning sign of the growing tension between celebration and safety. The atmosphere shifted as night deepened. Some partygoers began shooting fireworks directly at neighboring houses, according to police reports. Residents who weren't participating in the block party grew increasingly frustrated as explosions rattled windows and smoke drifted across their properties. It was getting out of hand, one neighbor later told local news. People who didn't even live here were taking over the street. Around 11 p.m., the situation escalated further. Tommy Howard recalled seeing drivers performing dangerous stunts at the intersection of Castleman and Comanche Streets. Cars began doing donuts, spinning in tight circles with engines roaring and tires screeching against the pavement. The exhibition drew cheers from some in the crowd but heightened tensions with others. Police cruisers had passed through earlier, but the sheer size of the gathering made effective control difficult. Officers were stretched thin across the city, responding to numerous July 4th incidents, leaving the Castleman Street party to grow unchecked. Tasha and Tommy remained at his parents' home, watching this celebration from what they believed was a safe distance. They had no way of knowing that the mixture of alcohol, fireworks, crowded streets, and growing neighborhood tensions was creating a powder keg ready to explode. As midnight approached, Tasha stepped inside Howard's mother's house to use the bathroom. It was a mundane moment that would tragically determine her fate, placing her in exactly the wrong place at exactly the wrong time when she emerged minutes later. What holiday celebrations have you witnessed that grew beyond control? Have you ever seen tensions rise in your neighborhood during public gatherings? Share your experiences in the comments below. At approximately 11:30 p.m., the night air on Castleman Street, already filled with music, laughter, and the pop of fireworks, was suddenly pierced by a different sound. Sharp cracks echoed between houses as gunfire erupted near the intersection where cars had been performing stunts. Many in the crowd initially mistook the sounds for more fireworks, a fatal misconception that cost precious seconds of reaction time. But as the rapid succession of shots continued, realization spread through the crowd like a wave. This wasn't celebration. This was danger. Everybody outside began running and ducking, Tommy Howard later recalled. The street scene transformed instantly from party to panic as hundreds of people scattered, seeking shelter behind cars, trees, and buildings. In that critical moment, Tasha Hymond stepped outside after using the bathroom in Howard's mother's house. She emerged into the open just as multiple shooters opened fire across the street. With no time to process what was happening or find cover, Tasha was struck by bullets in her chest and arm. Nearby, 19-year-old Marcus Martin Jr., visiting from San Diego, was hit in the back as he attempted to flee. 2 additional victims sustained serious injuries but would ultimately survive the attack. Others escaped with minor wounds or the psychological trauma of narrowly avoiding death. The shooters fired indiscriminately into the crowd. Police would later recover more than 100 shell casings and live rounds from the scene, evidence of the ferocity of the attack and the multiple weapons involved. The casings came from several different types of guns, indicating multiple shooters acting either in concert or in response to one another. As quickly as it began, the shooting stopped. The shooters fled the scene, disappearing into the night while chaos still reigned on Castleman Street, where hundreds had gathered to celebrate minutes before. Now only the wounded, the dead, and those trying desperately to help them remained. Emergency calls flooded Fort Worth's 911 dispatch center. Heavy gunfire, reported one caller. Multiple people down, said another. Police and ambulances raced to the scene, but for Tasha and Marcus, help would come too late. Tommy Howard found Tasha lying on the ground. The woman who had saved him from grief after losing his previous fiancée now lay motionless, her life slipping away despite his desperate pleas for her to hold on. The 4th of July, America's celebration of freedom, had become for Tasha Hymond and Marcus Martin Jr. the night their futures were stolen. For their families, Independence Day would forever be marked not by fireworks, but by the anniversary of unimaginable loss. Need to pause here and ask if you believe stories like Tasha's deserve more attention. Please take a second to hit the like button and share this video. Gun violence claims too many lives every day, and your engagement helps spread awareness that could potentially save others. Do it for Tasha, do it for your community. Do it because every life lost to senseless violence matters. What do you think happened in those crucial moments that turned celebration into tragedy? Was this a targeted attack or a spontaneous eruption of violence? Share your theories in the comments. When Fort Worth police arrived at Castleman Street, they encountered a scene of devastation. Emergency medical personnel rushed to treat the wounded while officers secured the perimeter and began the painstaking process of collecting evidence. The scale of the crime scene presented immediate challenges. Shell casings littered the street for hundreds of feet. Abandoned vehicles, some with windows shattered by bullets, remained where their owners had left them in their rush to escape. Personal belongings, phones, shoes, bags, were scattered across yards and sidewalks, dropped in panic as gunfire erupted. Detectives worked through the night, placing evidence markers beside each casing and bullet fragment. The final count would exceed 100 fired casings and live rounds from several types of guns, a staggering number that spoke to the intensity of the attack. This wasn't a single-shooter situation, a police spokesperson later confirmed. We believe multiple individuals were responsible for this shooting. I think the medical examiner's office determined that Tasha Hymond died from gunshot wounds to the chest and arm, while Marcus Martin Jr. was killed by a bullet to the back. 2 additional victims were transported to local hospitals with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. Investigators faced significant hurdles in gathering witness statements. Many potential witnesses had fled the scene immediately and never returned. Others were reluctant to speak with authorities, either from fear of retaliation or distrust of police. Those who did come forward often provided conflicting accounts, their memories clouded by the chaos and darkness. Tasha's social media became a crucial piece of evidence. Her live stream captured the atmosphere and tensions in the moments leading up to the shooting. Detectives analyzed this footage along with videos from other partygoers, security cameras from nearby businesses, and dashcam footage from police vehicles that had passed through the area earlier. The investigation quickly focused on the drivers who had been performing stunts at the intersection. Several witnesses reported that the shooting began shortly after residents confronted people about the dangerous driving and fireworks being aimed at homes. We believe this started as a dispute between residents and some individuals at the block party, an investigator noted, but it escalated far beyond any reasonable response. Police canvassed the neighborhood repeatedly, collecting doorbell camera footage and interviewing residents who might have seen something useful. They traced ownership of vehicles left at the scene and analyzed phone records from the area during the time of the shooting. For days after the incident, forensic teams continued processing evidence while detectives pursued leads. The community held its breath, waiting for answers about who had shattered their sense of safety on what should have been a night of celebration. What challenges do you think investigators face when dealing with a crime scene this large and chaotic? Have you ever witnessed how police handle major incidents in your area? Share your thoughts in the comments below. For 2 weeks, Tasha's family lived in limbo, grieving their loss while waiting for justice. Each day brought the same questions. Who did this? Why? Would they ever be caught? Then, on July 18, 2024, Fort Worth police made their first arrest. Todrick Rogers, a 21-year-old local man, was taken into custody and charged with murder in connection with the July 4th shooting. Jail records confirmed his arrest, though police remained tight-lipped about specific evidence linking him to the crime. This arrest is just the beginning, a police spokesperson stated. Our investigation remains active and ongoing. Authorities declined to comment on what role Rogers allegedly played in the shooting, whether he was one of the primary shooters, a driver, or an accomplice. They also wouldn't confirm if he had any prior connection to Tasha Hymond or Marcus Martin Jr., leaving open the possibility that the victims were random targets in an indiscriminate attack. The arrest brought mixed emotions for Tommy Howard and Tasha's family. While relieved that progress had been made, they understood that Rogers' capture represented just one piece of a larger puzzle. With multiple shooters believed to be involved, the search for complete justice continued. An arrest doesn't bring her back, Howard told reporters, but knowing someone is being held accountable helps us sleep a little better at night. Investigators continued pursuing leads on other suspects, reviewing evidence and interviewing witnesses. They urged anyone with information to come forward, emphasizing that even small details could help complete the picture of what happened that night. Community members responded to the arrest with cautious optimism. At a neighborhood meeting following Roger's capture, residents expressed hope that additional arrests would follow, but also voiced concerns about ongoing safety issues. "We need more than just arrests after tragedies happen," said one community activist. "We need prevention strategies that address the root causes of violence in our neighborhoods." For detectives working the case, the arrest of Kadoric Rogers marked significant progress but not completion. The investigation continued with renewed focus on identifying Rogers' potential accomplices and building a case strong enough to secure convictions. Meanwhile, Tasha's business remained temporarily closed, its future uncertain without its founder and driving force. Her clients continued posting tributes online, sharing stories of how she had made them feel beautiful and confident during important moments in their lives. As Rogers awaited his day in court, the community's attention turned to supporting the victims' families and preventing similar tragedies in the future. But questions lingered about how a neighborhood celebration could end so violently, and whether justice would ultimately extend to everyone responsible for the bloodshed on Castleman Street. Do you think justice moves quickly enough in cases like these? What more should communities do while waiting for the legal system to work? Share your perspective in the comments. Tasha Hymond's death didn't occur in isolation. Her murder was part of a devastating wave of violence that swept through Fort Worth on July 4, 2024, a night when celebrations across the city were shattered by gunfire. Just hours before Tasha was killed, another shooting unfolded outside the Crystal Clean Car Wash on West Cleburne Road. What began as an argument escalated into gunfire, claiming 3 lives: 15-month-old Winter Thusenham, her 4-year-old sister Ivy Pierce, and a man who was with them. 3 others were wounded in the attack. Police quickly identified 26-year-old Caynard Trent Murphy as the suspect in that case, charging him with capital murder of multiple persons. The deaths of 2 young children sent shockwaves through Fort Worth, compounding the community's grief when news of the Castleman Street shooting broke hours later. 5 people dead in one night, including 2 babies and a beloved community member, lamented a local pastor at a citywide prayer vigil. This isn't just a tragedy, it's a wake-up call. The twin shootings sparked urgent conversations about gun violence in Fort Worth. Community leaders, law enforcement officials, and residents gathered for emergency meetings to discuss immediate and long-term solutions. City Council members pledged to review police staffing for holiday events and explore additional funding for violence intervention programs. "We cannot accept this as normal," Fort Worth's mayor declared at a press conference. "1 death is too many, but 5 in a single night demands action from all of us." Local organizations mobilized to support the victims' families with funeral expenses, counseling services, and practical assistance. Churches opened their doors for community healing sessions, while neighborhood associations organized safety workshops and conflict resolution training. The violence in Fort Worth reflected a troubling national pattern. Across America, the 2024 Independence Day weekend saw similar incidents in cities from Chicago to Los Angeles, Philadelphia to Houston. What should have been celebrations of freedom instead became stark reminders of the country's ongoing struggle with gun violence. For residents of the Castleman Street neighborhood, the shooting fundamentally changed their sense of security. Many reported being unable to sleep through fireworks displays in the weeks that followed, the sounds triggering memories of that night. Parents kept children closer to home, and community gatherings became more subdued. "We used to look forward to the 4th, one longtime resident told local news. "Now I'm not sure we'll ever celebrate it the same way again." The broader impact extended beyond emotional trauma. Property values in the area dipped temporarily, local businesses reported decreased foot traffic, and community events were canceled out of safety concerns. The ripple effects of a single night of violence touched countless lives beyond those directly involved. How has gun violence affected celebrations in your community? Do you feel safe at large public gatherings? Share your experiences in the comments below. 5 days after her death, hundreds gathered to honor Tasha Hymond's memory. The July 9th Wake and Balloon release brought together a community united in grief. Clients whose special days she had enhanced with her artistry, friends who had known her laughter, family who had felt her love, and strangers moved by her story. The parking lot overflowed as people arrived carrying photos, makeup brushes as tributes, and colorful balloons. Many wore T-shirts printed with Tasha's image and the dates that marked her too brief life. "It is with a heavy heart that we announce the passing of our beloved owner, Latasha," read the statement from her business, Slay by Shay. The temporary closure notice continued. Tasha brought beauty to everyone she touched, not just through makeup but through her spirit. Tommy Howard stood surrounded by supporters, his grief raw and visible as he addressed the crowd. "She was my everything," he said, his voice breaking. "After losing someone to cancer, I never thought I'd find love again. Tasha showed me I could." On social media, Howard had posted a photo of the two of them with the caption, "Rest in paradise to my baby." The image showed them laughing together, a moment of joy now frozen in time. Pastor Felton Jenkins, Tasha's cousin, led prayers at the memorial. "Tasha's life was a gift to all who knew her," he told the gathering. "Her hands created beauty, but her heart created connection. That's her true legacy." Former clients shared stories of how Tasha had prepared them for weddings, proms, job interviews, and photo shoots, not just enhancing their appearance but boosting their confidence with her encouraging words and genuine interest in their lives. "She wasn't just my makeup artist, she was my therapist, my cheerleader, my friend," one woman shared through tears. "She made me feel beautiful when I couldn't see it myself." As the sun began to set, hundreds of balloons were released into the sky, a colorful tribute rising above Fort Worth, each representing a life touched by Tasha's presence. The crowd watched in silence as they drifted upward, carrying messages of love written on tags attached to each string. For Tasha's two adult children, the outpouring of support provided some comfort amid unbearable loss. They stood together, accepting hugs and hearing stories about their mother's impact, many of which they had never heard before. "We knew she was special to us," her daughter said, "but seeing how many others felt the same way, it helps." If Tasha's story has moved you, if you believe her memory deserves to be honored and her killers brought to justice, please subscribe to our channel now. Your support helps us continue telling these important stories and keeps pressure on authorities to solve cases like Tasha's. Do it because every victim deserves to be remembered. Do it because Tasha can no longer speak for herself. As Fort Worth moves forward from the tragedy of July 4, 2024, the case of Tasha Hymond remains partially unresolved. While Toderick Rogers awaits trial, investigators continue searching for other suspects believed to be involved in the shooting that claimed her life and that of Marcus Martin Jr. The evidence tells a clear story. Multiple weapons fired over 100 rounds into a crowd of hundreds. What remains unclear is why a neighborhood celebration escalated to deadly violence, why bystanders became targets, why a makeup artist who brought beauty to others became a victim of ugliness at its worst. For Tommy Howard, life has become a series of painful adjustments. The woman he called his savior is gone, leaving him to navigate grief for a second time. "You never think lightning will strike twice," he told friends at a community support meeting, "but here I am." Tasha's business stands as a monument to what was lost that night. Her clients have scattered to other makeup artists, but many say the experience isn't the same. "There was only one Tasha," a bride wrote in an online tribute. "She didn't just do makeup, she made you feel worthy of being beautiful." For Fort Worth police, the case remains active. Detectives continue interviewing witnesses, analyzing evidence, and pursuing leads. They've maintained public pressure through regular media updates, keeping Tasha's story in the news and encouraging anyone with information to come forward. The neighborhood around Castleman Street has changed. Residents report being more vigilant, less trusting of large gatherings. Some have installed security cameras or moved away entirely. Others have formed closer bonds with neighbors, determined not to let violence define their community. Perhaps the most profound impact is on how Fort Worth now approaches holiday celebrations. The city has implemented new safety protocols for public gatherings, increased police presence during holidays, and expanded community intervention programs aimed at de-escalating conflicts before they turn violent. The true crime in this story extends beyond the bullets fired that night. It's found in the moments stolen from Tasha's future, the weddings she'll never attend, the clients she'll never transform, the grandchildren she'll never meet. It's found in the trauma inflicted on hundreds of witnesses and the fear now embedded in a once carefree celebration. As we conclude Tasha's story, remember that cases like hers happen every day across America. Behind every headline is a human being with dreams, relationships, and a future that deserves protection. If this story affected you, please take a moment to like, comment, and share it with others. Your engagement helps ensure Tasha's story reaches more people and that her memory lives on. Subscribe to join our community dedicated to seeking justice and remembering victims like Tasha. What do you think needs to change to prevent tragedies like this? What message would you send to Tasha's family? Let us know in the comments below.